What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Week 7 recap review. He wants to add some studs and duds segment to it via talking mainly about fantasy, which I'm down for. So we can get into it. But we already talked about the Thursday night game, so I don't think we need to go there.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to maybe reinforce that Dearness is a beast, you know.
Yeah,
but
he was.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess let's just dive straight into it. Let's talk about my team first, because they're my team, and I'm not ashamed to say it, although
they aren't a good team.
Yeah, man, we from 3-0 to 3-4, and,
tough stretch.
It's definitely been a tough stretch. The Panthers, obviously, guys, they lost to the Giants in New York, 25-3, and believe it or not, they were up 3-0 in this game. So that means from that point on, it was just all Giants. It was 25. It was a 25-0 shutout, right, from that point on. So, and it was actually a close game until it wasn't. It was kind of like one of those games where both teams have a chance to win until it was a lot like the in that way, like the Bengals and Ravens game where the score, shows something different than maybe it was for the majority of the contest. But no doubt about it, the Giants completely outplayed the Panthers in every phase of the game. And when you look at what the Giants were able to do offensively without Kenny Golladay, without Kadarius Toney, without Sterling Shepard, they had 7 different guys caught a pass, not including Daniel Jones. So the 8, if you include Daniel Jones in that, 6 guys caught 2 or more passes and 3 caught 5 or more. So it was pretty balanced. Daniel Jones completed 70% of his passes, had a great one-handed catch.
Yeah, he had an amazing catch. That was incredible.
Crazy. And you knew he was going to take a shot, too, and he just didn't give it to him.
Right.
Yeah.
He just put his body on the line for that catch.
Yeah, it was a much-needed win for the Giants, obviously, and it was kind of a get-right game for their defense, what I've been basically calling for. I mean, I've just been saying about them in Washington that the defenses are still talented, and I still think they're good. They just haven't been playing that way. Speaking of their defense, Azeez Ojulari had 2.5 sacks, the rookie out of Georgia, and the Giants had 6 as a team. So it was an impressive. Leonard Williams had 1.5 as well. So it was an impressive performance all the way around, and maybe one of those wins for New York that can kind of propel them into maybe making a little run here.
You would think.
Interesting, at least.
I mean, for their sake. I mean, obviously, I think Saquon will be back next week.
Really?
Hopefully.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we'll see. But, I mean, their season's right on him coming back because he's obviously a playmaker, and they desperately need him. But, yeah, it was a pretty boring game. Didn't they? It was like 5-3 for
the first half, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, remember a few weeks ago, me and you had the Jared Goff versus Sam Darnold debate. How quickly do things change in the NFL?
Seriously.
Yeah.
He just seeing ghosts again. I know it's October and Halloween is on Saturday or Sunday, but my God.
He was 16 of 25 for 111, averaged 4.4 yards per pass attempt.
Sam Darnold's going to be ghosting everyone pretty soon.
It was tough to watch, man. He ends up ultimately getting pulled. They put PJ Walker in. He comes in, goes 3 of 14 for 33 yards. So Sam's job is completely safe. I'm not bashing PJ. There's no reason to.
Right.
He just did what he was asked. Came in there and tried to provide a spark. But look at this, man. In the last 3 games, Sam Darnold, 52.4% completion percentage, averaging 165 yards a game. And mind you, these are in losses, right? So you would think yards would be higher. No. 2 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions, a 52 quarterback rating, and averaging 4.8 yards per pass attempt.
That's just god awful.
Yeah. It's not even it's like you don't even belong on the field.
Right.
Type of thing,
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, but I don't know. He's not going to last much longer, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of a sudden now we hear about the Panthers are, very much into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes again. So,
right.
So we didn't hear that when we were 3-0. Now all of a sudden we're very much into it. I mean, Darnold had 300+ yards in 3 of his first 4 games. He had 279 or more in every game. He hasn't had 279 since in the last 3. You know, he's only cracked 200 once, and that was against the Vikings. So
yeah, and if you drafted DJ Moore in fantasy, I mean, you're hurting. He's almost, I mean.
But he still did his thing, I think. He still actually had a decent game.
He's not having the same year he did last year, unfortunately.
No, he's having a much better one.
No, he's not. As far as fantasy production,
DJ Moore's having a way better year.
20, 30-point games last year.
No, he was super inconsistent until the end of the year. Then he picked it up. But this year he's been going crazy. He
had 13, 14 points this week. I mean, that's not crazy.
Well, no, that's this week. He had 6 for 73 this week. But look, let me just put you on game here about DJ Moore. DJ Moore. Let me type. Okay, in our league, he's the 34th ranked player.
Yeah, he should
overall
be
player.
He should be top 20. He was drafted.
No, he's the 34th overall player. That includes quarterbacks. He had 15.4 in week 1, 21.9 in week 2, 20.5 week 3, 31.9 week 4, 8.8 week 5, 11.9 and 13.3. He's been awesome.
Yeah, well, he was at the beginning of the year when Sam Darnold was playing like as if he belongs.
Yeah, no, he played better then. I mean, that makes sense.
Right,
but
you have to go on trends here, and his trend is trending down as far as his fantasy production.
He had 6 for 73.
Right, but he's not having those 20, 30-point games that he hit.
That he had 2 weeks ago? He's right now, he is the wide receiver 8 in PPR scoring.
Sam Darnold is garbage. And if they had anyone else in there.
Still the wide receiver 8.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He could literally be top receiver at this point of the year.
But if you drafted DJ Moore in the 5th round, you are more than happy with what you're getting. You know, he's only had 1 game with under 73 yards.
Yeah, well, in those last 3 weeks, his fantasy production has fallen, is what my point is.
Yeah, it has.
I'm getting at, and it's only going to get worse.
That's possible. Maybe he's a sell high, you know?
Yeah.
But either way, he's been good so far overall. I mean, he's the wide receiver 8, like I mentioned, so he's a stud. Anyways, we're getting sidetracked. So if we were to include DJ Moore in a game where your team only scores 3 points, for him to come out and have 6 for 73, that's pretty, that's respectable in and of itself. But anyways, yeah, man, tough loss for my Panthers. Great win for the Giants. They hopefully this means for Giants fans' sake that they're, trending up. And, we'll see. Patriots demolished the New York Jets.
I mean, absolute demolished.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson got hurt in this one. He's out 2 to 4 weeks with a PCL strain.
Yeah, at least it's not a season ender. I thought for a second when I saw it live, I was like, dude, that doesn't.
Joe Flacco has been traded to the Jets.
Yeah, he's going there. He's going to start a few games.
That's
cool. I'm sure he's happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, he gets to get on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously Hurts is the guy in Philly. So
right. But like you said, this is an absolute shellacking. I mean,
yeah,
they put a 54 on him?
54, yeah. They scored 31 in the first half and 23 in the second half. 20 in the fourth quarter. It was just like a relentless, domination from start to finish. And Zach Wilson statistically was 6 of 10, 51 yards while he was in there. He wasn't, terrible.
Right.
But, hey, guess who led them in rushing and receiving? The Jets. My guy, Michael Carter.
Yeah, he had a good game.
19 touches over 100 yards, so that's good. If you've been holding him like I have advised, you're happy with that.
His production is getting higher and higher as the season goes on here.
I mean, he had 8 receptions for 67 yards. PPR machine. I think he had 17 points in our league.
Yeah, well, on the other side of the ball, Damien Harris was an absolute workhorse.
Yeah,
Talk about a fantasy stud.
What a DFS value he ended up being.
Yeah, if you started him this week, you were probably sitting pretty, depending on the rest of your team. But, he went off 14 for 106, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great in this one, running all over the Jets.
Yep.
Brandon Bolden actually
led them in receiving. That's crazy.
Yeah. The highest reception total in a game in his career, I believe. 6 for 79 for a touchdown. I mean, 7 targets out of the backfield.
Andy in our league started him a few weeks ago.
Bill Belichick come up with this shit? I mean, they ran like 2 trick plays in that game. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, it was like they had it out for the Jets. Like, they just wanted to completely punish.
Yeah, demoralize them.
I mean, they did.
Yeah. Well,
54-13. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the Jets aren't. I mean, it's if you're a Jets fan, I don't feel your pain because I'm not a Jets fan. But my God,
it's been rough again.
Yeah, it's another rough year for the New York football Jets.
Yeah, I thought they would be better than they are. Not a playoff team, but I thought they'd be better than they are.
Right. I mean, Mac Jones had a great game.
Yeah, he did. Excuse me.
Yeah, what's wrong with Mike White? He's just not the answer. They said, fuck it, we're going to get Joe Flacco.
Yeah, he didn't. I liked him actually coming out, but he didn't play very well.
Elijah Moore got his first touchdown of his career, I believe.
He looked explosive on that run too. But
yeah, I mean, like you said, overall shellacking, some fantasy good players on the Patriots side at least. They had their defense play well. So yeah, man, 54-13. Not much more to say about the ass whooping that the Patriots give the Jets.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums that up. A complete ass whooping. I guess let's just move along now to one of the shockers of the week, and that was the Titans-Chiefs game that only combined for 30 total points scored in this one. I don't think anybody saw that coming. And
no.
I especially don't think anybody saw Patrick Mahomes being the one that only scored 3.
Right. I don't understand what is going on in Kansas City. I don't know if the water is spoiled up there, but I don't know. Were they exposed in the Super Bowl? Like, how has this happened?
I think it's a few things, right? And I'm one of the ones that's kind of like, hold on, the Chiefs are not as dead as everybody thinks, and here's why. They are 3-4, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means they're 2 games out of the number 1 seed in the AFC. Okay?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the 1 seed when it's all said and done, but we need some context behind it. They're not completely out of this, number 1. Number 2, they have a different offensive line that usually takes time to put together a cohesive unit that, is ready to be good. Even if you have good players, it takes time for them to get the communications down, new system, all that stuff. Number 3, the defense playing bad. I get that. But I just think that they're closer. They've had a brutal schedule, too, is what I was going to say for number 3. Had a brutal schedule. I mean, they played the Bills, Ravens, Titans, Browns even. They beat the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been easy. So I think they'll be okay. I think they'll make the playoffs, win a playoff game.
I was about to ask you, do they still make the playoffs?
100%. Yeah. Like, if you could give me, I don't know if anybody's taking that as a bet, any bookmaker, but if the odds are in my favor, I will absolutely take that happily. Because
what are we going to say?
This is the same team, the same group of guys, coaching staff, et cetera, that went to the Super Bowl back-to-back years. You know what I mean?
Their defense is just historically bad right now.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, but they're still healthy, too. You know what I mean? That's another part of it. They're actually healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
A.J. Brown was a monster in this one, 8 for 133 with a touchdown. I mean.
Yeah.
Julio Jones just doesn't look like he has any legs left on him.
He looked good early, and then he kind of just, I don't know.
He's just got that lingering hamstring issue, so that's obviously holding him back. And like you said, he's definitely not in his prime anymore. So, I mean, another big game for Derrick Henry, of course, running people over per usual. Mahomes, on the other hand, like you said, 20 for 35, 206 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick.
I don't recall a game where he hasn't gotten the end zone. Do you?
No, that was the first game since he became starter that they haven't scored.
Well, that's why I don't recall it.
Right.
I thought the Titans' pass rush was surprisingly good.
Yeah, it was.
I thought they were really affecting him, impacting him, even when they didn't get home. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was definitely a big part of the defense. I mean, the secondary.
They had 4 sacks on him.
We finally had a Bud Dupree sighting, your guy.
Yep. Shout out to Bud.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was just complete domination. I mean, it was 7-0, then they 3-and-out, then it was 14-0, then they I think it was the interception, 17, and they just kept capitalizing on every break that their defense provided for them. And
I mean, this game was pretty much over in the first half.
Yeah, it felt like it, but obviously it's the Chiefs, so you always are kind of like, well, maybe, but it was 27-0 at halftime. So if you're looking for a positive, if you're Kansas City, they held them scoreless in the second half. I guess.
This is true.
But they only scored 3 themselves, so.
Yeah, that was obviously did not see this coming at all. Not even this game, but the entire season for them. I mean, they're 3-4. It's just shocking, especially just the production they've had over the last couple years since he's been around. I mean, it's been remarkable. But I don't know if teams are starting to figure him out, or like you said, they're just I don't know, out of sync. But I still think they make the playoffs.
I do think there's some element to like teams have kind of figured out what works against them a little bit. It's a combination of all the above, really. But I think they'll ultimately get it figured out. It's Andy Reid, It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Travis Kelce. It's, the offensive line is good and talented. Clyde's coming back soon. I think they'll be all right.
They got Giants at home on Monday night this week. So
talk about a potential get right.
Yes, 100%. And then they got the Pack after that.
All right. So let's talk about the Washington football team and the Green Bay Packers.
Let's do it.
Dude, I thought, damn, if Taylor Heidenke, if they just called that first run a touchdown, the one where he just basically, it looked like he technically gave himself up. I think that's a stupid rule because, I don't know, maybe I was just rooting for Washington, but I think it's tough to watch a guy like clearly be able to just run across into the end zone and then he kind of just fell down and whatever. So it cost them. But the red zone, that was by far the biggest issue for them. And why don't they give Antonio Gibson any goal line carries? I mean, they gave him like 1, maybe 2 on all those 4 possessions. But damn, they're moving right up and down the field. He's running effectively. He was this close to popping like a 70-yarder in the first half too, by the way. But it was just that was the difference in this football game.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio Gibson had 14 carries for 51 yards. Taylor Heidenke was actually their second highest leading carrier.
I started him. He had 10 for 95, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started him.
That's pretty wild. I mean, 25, 37, 268, 1 touchdown, 1 pick through the air. Took 4 sacks for 33 yards.
He was sacked 4 times?
Yeah.
Wow. The Packers defense is better than better than what they've been recently in recent years, I think.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers he only threw for 274 yards, 3 touchdowns.
I mean, that's pretty solid, but
yeah, he was efficient. 27 for 35. Aaron Jones had a down game in this one.
This was actually a really good game from Washington's defense. It would just you don't realize it because Rodgers had 3 touchdowns, no picks, all that stuff. But again, like you said, Aaron Jones only 6 for 19. Where was my guy A.J. Dillon? 3 carries for 6 yards? Like, what happened? I told people to start him, and I mean, in certain situations, he only had 1 catch, was targeted twice. I don't know. It was like Devontae Adams. Well, I guess Tanyan and Alan Lazard did some stuff as well. But, like, for the most part, the Washington defense did their part in this game. I think that if you go into Green Bay, hold Rodgers to 24 points, I think that's all you can really ask for. It's just that those red zone goal line possessions, I think it was 4 times where they just couldn't get the damn ball into the end zone.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin was a stud in this one. 7 for 122, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, he made a really nice catch early on that touchdown. Yeah, 12 targets. Ricky Seals-Jones, who I dropped like midway through this game because I needed a roster space for the later games. He went for 6 for 51. He looks pretty good.
Soaked up another 7 targets in this one.
Yeah.
If you had your tight end on bye, I mean, he got you, 9, 10 points?
Yeah.
Possibly.
He was solid.
Yeah.
I think that, as I mentioned, I really do think the Packer defense is better in years than they have been in years past. And it's funny because Washington had the ball, what I believe was 4 times in goal-to-go situations and failed all 4 times. Obviously, if they even get 3 of those, they win the game, technically speaking, from a mathematical standpoint. But the other side of the coin is the Packers had been the worst. I believe they had allowed 14 touchdowns on 14 red zone possessions this season. Worst team in the NFL in that exact spot. And this time they came in. And this is where the stats can only take you so far, right? Because if I had looked at that, I would have said, hey, Washington's going to have 5 or 6 red zone possessions against the worst red zone defense. That's 2 + 2 = 4. That means they're going to score a bunch of points.
Right.
Well, they only got 10. And they got down there. They were able to move the ball between the 20s. Just were not able to punch it in. And I think that is an area that the Packer defense obviously needed to get better at, and they did.
Yep.
You know, so shout out to that team.
Yeah.
That's a 6-1 football team now, and they're going to play now the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday night, and I am really excited about that one. I'm also bummed out. I think it's Devontae Adams has COVID or
Devontae Adams is unlikely to play on Thursday, has been added to the COVID list. So,
and I think it's the coach is too, isn't he? Or is he not?
I don't think that's. I don't know.
I know their whole team's at a potential for a big breakout because of some. I don't really know why, but
well, if you have Devontae Adams in your fantasy lineups, be sure to most likely get him out because he is unlikely to play on Thursday.
And he's been awesome lately too, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, man, I think Washington. It's disappointing, but at least this game they didn't give up 30 points. At least the defense showed signs of life. The offense actually played pretty well. It's just you got to get touchdowns when you get down in there, especially against an offense like Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. So I think there's reason for optimism. You went in there and fought hard to the very end, and yeah, is what it is though. It's got to be tough for Washington fans because I think they never would have thought that they'd be in this position, this year, this time of the year. So rough.
Falcons, Dolphins.
This was a good game.
This was
actually
a pretty good game.
Maybe the only good game.
Really, at the end of the game was wild. I felt like they just kept going back and forth with the touchdowns.
Yeah, well, what it was is the Falcons were up 27 to 14, and that was with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. About a minute after that, Tua scores a touchdown, right, or he throws a touchdown pass. Then the Dolphin defense gets the ball back, and Miami goes down and scores again. I'm not sure if there was maybe they punted in between that, but essentially that's what happened. They scored twice with under 9 minutes to go.
Yeah,
and took the lead, and
scored
then
21 in the second half.
Yeah. And then Matty Iced them and came down there. And I think it was Kyle Pitts that caught a really impressive ball on the sideline there, a little go ball.
He is coming along in fantasy. He is, 7 for 163.
Was he a good buy low?
Yeah.
A few, maybe 3 weeks ago.
He's definitely a target right now. I know trade deadlines are coming up in fantasy drafts, but if you can.
He's not at this point. I think the Kyle Pitts owners are like, we're not.
Well,
selling.
if you can try and get him, I would definitely do it for the rest of the season run because he's looking good right now.
Yeah, he might be their leading receiver the rest of the way.
Another tight end that looked good is Mike Gazekiah. I'm pretty sure he's not the top 3 tight end in Chalk Your Bet. 7 for 85 for a touchdown in this one. 8 targets.
Ask me if I'm surprised.
Yeah, he's a solid tight end for your fantasy team.
For my team. I have him in several leagues, and he's just what it is he's a really good athlete, and he's got really soft hands as a receiver,
right.
And those kind of combinations at the tight end position, guys that look like they could play in the NBA, that as a power forward or whatever. That's Mike Gesicki. He's that type of dude. Caught the touchdown for me. Again, I started them in DFS. I have them in, I think, at least 2, maybe 3 leagues. But
Tua had a game.
Tua actually played well.
32 for 40, 291, 4 touchdowns. So, he was a solid streamer in fantasy this week.
He was.
Augie picked him up and just plugged him in, and he got the dub because of it.
Yeah.
He went
Tua
nuts.
Played well.
He sure did. Miles Gaskin, all of a sudden,
it's so messed up. This is exactly what the Patriots running backs have done to us for years.
Yeah,
Miles Gaskin's doing.
Yeah, 15 for 67. I feel like what did he have last week? 4 or 5 carries,
4 passes too for 10 more yards. So and a touchdown.
Yeah,
so
I think he had 14 or 15 fantasy points. Viable
easily
for RB2, but if you had him on the bench, as pretty sure everyone insisted you did.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it is.
Look, I want to say something about Tua real quick because I don't want to gloss over that too much. I want to get a real take out there. Number one, I think that he played a really good game. I think the last 2 games he's actually played really good football. But, and I don't mean to, shine the negativity light on him, but there are just throws every week where you can see that he can't. It takes everything in his being to make the opposite hash throw outside the numbers, at a certain distance down the field. It takes every bit of that arm. And so I think that's where his upside is always going to have some type of limitation to it. You know, I mean, I know people probably say Drew Brees. Drew Brees had a much bigger arm than this when he was young, or when he was for the first 15 years of his career or whatever it was. So, you know, I will say that Tua looks like the guy that I think that most of us thought he would look like.
Yeah.
What I said about Tua was he's a better Alex Smith. Coming out of the draft, I said look, that's what I think he is. People got mad, but I think that's what he is. You know, we've seen Alex Smith have games like this. That is an Alex Smith stat line. You know, that one year in Kansas City where he was in the MVP conversation. That's that kind of Alex Smith stat line. You know,
I mean, he had that awful pick on that.
I think the tight end messed up though. The tight end's supposed to flatten that out. It was supposed to be an out route right at the 4-yard line.
He threw it straight to the defender.
Because the tight end ran the wrong route. The tight end ran the wrong route, I promise. But because at first I thought that too. But then someone on Twitter was showing what Tua was. The ball was already out of Tua's hands, and the guy was supposed to break at the 4. If he would have done that, the ball would have hit him right in the hands, and he would have scored. So
well, tough loss for Dolphins fans.
I mean, 1-6. The 1-6 Miami Dolphins. I can't believe.
Yeah, 0-3 at home. I mean, that's tough.
Their only win is against the freaking Patriots in Foxborough. Go figure.
Right.
But hey, let's talk about these Atlanta Falcons because I think we need to give them some love, man. Look, we have been all aboard the Dan Campbell, the Lions coach, love train, giving him all the praise, and he deserves it. But Matt Ryan and this new coach here, first year coach in Arthur Brown. Is it Arthur Brown or Arthur Smith? I always want to call him one or the other. Either way, Arthur, you know who I'm talking about, the head coach of the Falcons. He is, look, the Falcons couldn't do shit early, right? They scored 31 points in the first 2 games, had Ryan threw 3 interceptions in those 2 games, all against Tampa. But the point is, those 2 games were tough, right? They didn't score a lot of points. They had 25 against Tampa, but they only 6 against Philly. Then they come back in week 3. They go to the Giants. They beat them, only score 17. But Ryan was 75% completion, 243, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And in the week since, they've scored 30 in a loss to Washington, 27 in a win over the Jets, and now 30 against the Dolphins in Miami. So I think the Atlanta Falcons are a team that's 3-3, and they play my Carolina Panthers next week in Atlanta.
They sure do.
I think they can easily beat them. Not that I think they will, but just could they get in? And if they do, they will be over 500, you know, at right around the halfway mark of the season where no one expected them to be. So much credit to that coaching staff and what they're doing over there because it took, you know, people are like, they should have been going to Kyle Pitts earlier. It's like, dude, Kyle Pitts was a rookie earlier.
Right.
Like he was a first game NFL, you know.
Right. He's got to get time to get acclimated and learn this offense. Obviously, it's a lot different than college. So he is definitely coming along, and he looks good. Absolutely. He looks good. Matt Ryan looks good. The running back kind of committee of Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson committee look good anymore. They're solely focused on Cordero Patterson. No. Mike Davis is almost droppable at this point. No, he's not. He's been extremely reliable. You cannot rely on him anymore coming out of bye. He had 4 carries for 10 yards. I mean, are you serious? Yeah. He wasn't targeted in the passing game. They're basically saying, you know what, we're all in on Cordero Patterson. Because before that, he had been extremely reliable. Like, look, in our league, 10.2, 13, 11, 10, 13. Right. That's what he was doing all year. Mm-hmm. And now after the bye, they say, I guess they're handing the reins completely over to Cordero. Huh? Yeah, they are. I don't even think he's in flex consideration at this point right now. I mean, you either bench him or drop him if you literally have to. I wouldn't drop him. I would bench him and just see where things go from there. But, yeah, Cordero carried 14 times, caught 2 passes, was targeted 5 times, you know. So, yeah, he was clearly the lead back, and I love it. I think that's great for them. I think he's a really good player in that role. He definitely looks good in that position. By the way, DJ Moore has more fantasy points than Cordero Patterson. Anyways, let's move right along. So, yeah, hey, good win for the Falcons. I think that you guys could very well have a winning record this time next week, and that's amazing to think that how depleted your defense looks on paper. And, you know, you've got games where you're holding teams to 14 points and shit. Like, it's not – I mean, they're competing their asses off. They're getting better as the season goes on. So, shout out to them. And then
The Dolphins, the one encouraging thing you can take from this is, well, two. Tua has played well the last 2 weeks, and then Mike Gesicki is really becoming kind of that guy at the tight end position. Might be a top 3 or 4 tight end.
No, he is. He's top 3 in our league.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
tough loss for the Dolphins.
Yep. All right, let's talk some, what do you go? Bengals, Ravens. This was fun.
Shocker. This is an absolute shocker.
Everything was saying.
Can we just talk about
Joey B?
Jamar Chase.
Oh, Jamar Chase.
The amazing Chase.
Yes.
Jamar the Merrier.
He was absolutely my miss in this regard. Look, I never doubted Jamar Chase as a player. I thought he was a first-round caliber player. I didn't think he was an elite player right off the bat.
He's on pace for the best rookie wide receiver season
ever. He's on pace for like 1,800 yards or something.
Yeah, he's been Jamarvelous. I mean, 84. He played 84% of the snaps in this one. He's clearly their top dog now. 8 for 201 and a touchdown. I mean, broke 3 defenders.
That was ridiculous. And he did that against Marlon Humphrey. That was the reason I wanted to bench him. Yeah. I was right in my logic, but he just owned Marlon Humphrey.
He sure did.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, Burrow obviously as well had an excellent game. 23 for 38. Could be a little bit more efficient, but he had a career high 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick.
Yeah, he
was all
he
Bengals
was chunking that
one.
thing down the field, so I'm not mad at him. And in Baltimore, the thing about them, they're a really good defense.
I know. They just did not come ready to play. This is why any given Sunday, dude, I swear to God, the NFL is different.
But also, I want to say, the final score is deceiving. If you didn't watch this game, it was a very close game. The Ravens were actually winning. I think it was like late in the third quarter, the Ravens had a lead. You know what I mean? And then the Bengals got the lead. Then they went up by 10, and it was like, that felt huge. And then all of a sudden the floodgates open. They got a couple of other late touchdowns. But it was a close game. Let's not get carried away. I think the Ravens fans, I'm talking to you, you need to feel very good.
I mean, it was 13-10 at half.
Yeah.
So
Ravens are winning?
No, the Bengals were.
Okay. And then the Ravens took the lead, went up 17-13.
Yeah, they scored 7 in the third, and that was the last time they did. But Lamar, I mean, he had a great fantasy game.
He was under a ton of pressure.
Yeah, he had a great fantasy game on paper, but could have played a little better. Took 5 sacks.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he almost had no chance at times.
Yeah,
dude, Joe Burrow averaged his highest yards per attempt of any game this season against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. So that tells you all you need to know. 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Was only sacked 1 time. Was able to not get confused, where we saw Justin Herbert basically get confused as hell last week at times. Burrow was able to get the ball out of his hands and knew what was coming, where to go. That also helps because he's played against them once before. He watched his team game plan for them twice last year overall. And so, that's all, good for him. And just the fact that they're able to go in there and get this win now shows you they are legitimately a good team.
Yeah, they went into Baltimore. They're 3-1 on the road now, and they've taken control of that division with that win.
They're up by a game over the Ravens. So that's impressive stuff. And I saw that I think Baltimore, I never thought I'd say this, they need to run the ball a little bit more effectively with their running backs. I think the running backs combined had 10 for 23, on the ground. I think they look
lost without Latavius Murray for sure.
They need more work, though.
Le'Veon Bell is pitiful.
Yeah, they clearly don't view him as like
he's
feature back.
He had 5 for 5. I don't even know how. He had a 7-yard rush, and he ended up with 5 yards. So,
hey, Hollywood Brown, man, another great catch in the back of the end zone there. Great throw by Lamar on that one as well. That was the last touchdown they scored in Baltimore, and it was one hell of a throw and catch. But hey, man, all the credit to the Bengals. They're one of the teams, and there aren't many of these teams that can win in any way. You guys have heard me talk about that before, where they can win a shootout. They can win a defensive struggle. They can run the ball. They're getting better in that regard with their running backs, at least. And obviously Burrow went for 400 in Baltimore, so I think that we have to start talking about him a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was an excellent game for Bengals fans. Your team is looking good. Looking good. They got, like I said, got the lead in that division, 5-2. Hey, if you have, did you start Joe Burrow in any league this week?
No.
He was a good streamer this week.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shit. He was, 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. That'll work.
Yeah.
11 yards per pass attempt. I mean, shit. Yeah, he was great.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man, the Bengals are for real. I'm going to speak about them with a whole different type of tone in my voice from here on out because I think they are legit. I don't think this is fool's gold. Like, I don't think they're the Panthers at 3-0. I think they're legitimately a team that's going to be a playoff team this year. I really do. And so, yeah. And then also for the Ravens, I would not count them out in this division just yet. I really wouldn't.
Of course
I think
not.
they're right there. They'll be there the whole way, and they'll have to play Cincinnati in Cincinnati again. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, Lions Rams. This was awesome. It was a great game.
Yeah, but
Jared Goff came to fucking play.
Yeah, but he also showed them why they traded him.
He's not as good of a quarterback as Matthew Stafford, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But what he is a fucking good player. He's a good player, man. He's not a great player, but he is a good player. If you put him in a situation like he was in with the Rams a few years ago, where you have a good run game, a good defense, et cetera, receivers and offensive line, all that, he can take you to the promised land. He can win the championship in the NFL. I believe that with my whole entire being. And I think that the Lions are in a position now where they will be able to, if they want to keep Goff for the rest of the rebuild while they're rebuilding / retooling, they can do so. If they want to use some of the draft picks they'll likely have, the high draft picks, they can draft one and then trade Goff for something reasonable. But I think that, man, he just, the way he managed that game, Jared Goff, was impressive in my opinion, especially going into L.A., playing a guy, like, remember the few weeks ago when Brady went to go play Belichick, I said, Belichick has a tactical advantage, and it showed. Well, this one, McVay had the same tactical advantage, and it didn't really show up until maybe the end. Nice play by Darnold and the interception by, I think, Ramsey. But overall, I thought Goff played a really good game. I really did. And, stats don't necessarily bear it out, but I thought he played well. But, yeah, I mean, the Lions just fucking hang tough as shit. They do not quit. They fought. They were winning 19-17 in this game in the fourth quarter. Matthew Stafford just calmly went down there and got the job done, though. Cooper Kupp is freaking ridiculous. He's on pace. I saw Mike Renner tweeted this out earlier. He's on pace to break Calvin Johnson's single-season receiving yards record. Now, that is with one additional game, but still.
I mean, 10 receptions for 156 yards.
Yeah. Let me just tell you his targets by week. God bless you. His targets by week: 10, 11, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13. That's what he's done in terms of targets, every week. So
yeah, he was a monster in this one. I mean, it's just unfathomable. I mean, Robert Woods still had a decent game. Yeah. But Cooper Kupp is just the man.
Dude, Cooper Kupp in the last 2 games, 19 for 286 and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's wild.
He's insane.
He's ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Daryl Henderson had, a fairly decent game in this one. I wouldn't say he did much. He's 15 for 45, 0 touchdowns, but also had 3 receptions, for 19 yards.
Yeah, I thought the Lions defense really
DeAndre Swift was another fantasy monster in this one.
Awesome. He was awesome. I love having him. I love that I drafted him in the 3rd round, man. I'm really happy about that.
He had 8 receptions, he had 10 targets, 96 yards receiving, and then 13 for 48 on the ground.
Yep. And that's against a good Ram defense,
Yep. But now, it's just another loss for the Lions, 0-7. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, obviously,
I think that they need to be optimistic. I think that they need to be optimistic about what they have going on there. I think that they're playing teams that are so much more talented than them,
right?
So tough every week, almost every week. Like they even when they got blown out against the Niners, they came all the way back and made it a 1-possession game. Mm-hmm. They had the lead in Green Bay, then they fell apart because Green Bay's a much better football team. I mean, it's just they've been very competitive. They were going tit for tat, but the Rams, I love the fake punt, the 2 fake punts, the onside kick. This guy doesn't give a damn, Dan Campbell. He's just he wanted to win that game so bad. He wanted, and they want to win, I think, for the right reasons, meaning he wants his players to experience a big win. because they're close. They're fighting their asses off for each other, and I like everything about what they're doing. I just think that they just need talent, and that's going to take time. So Detroit ownership, please be patient. You've got the right coach. Maybe you have the quarterback already on the roster. Either way, I think that's something you can figure out as time goes on this year. But again, I think that they have a nice base, the way they're built, the Detroit Lions. They have a pretty strong offensive line. Remember Penei Sewell's there, the guy they drafted early or whatever, top 4 or 5 or whatever it was this year. And so I like what they have. The pieces they have, they just need to add more talent to it. And I think the next 2-3 years, they will be legitimately contending in the NFC North. They might be the next team to kind of take over in the way the Packers have in that division. Once Rodgers leaves, it might just be the nick of time for the Lions to go in there.
Well, in fantasy purposes, do you buy low on TJ Hawkinson for the rest of the season? If you can try and
I think so. If you can get him low, absolutely.
I've proposed in Eric's league. I proposed this dude Robert Woods, Mark Andrews, and Edwards-Helaire for TJ Hawkinson and Najee Harris.
I was about to say, until you said Najee, I was like, he'll do that.
Right.
But what did he say?
It's still pending, or it's still proposed. But
well, that's not bad news. I mean, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to get up Mark Andrews, and he's
been going
stud.
Off.
Yeah,
you might be right to sell high on him right now too, just because I think he's really good, but I just think that it might be.
Well, I mean, if I can also get a lower end tight end one and a bona fide RB1 coming off bye, I won't have to worry about his bye week for the rest of the year. I don't know. I mean, I'd have him and C-Mac, so
right.
Obviously Chuba right now, and I got Fournette, so I'm not hurting.
Yeah, Hawkinson's seen 20 targets the last 2 weeks. Has caught 14 for 122, so it's 8.7 yards per reception. But hey, PPR, you'll take that. You expect some touchdowns.
Definitely a potential buy low target.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all, and I think you got to do it now because if he just has a touchdown, if he just does what he's been doing the last 2 weeks and has a touchdown, he may be off the books in terms of someone that will be sold low. So, but yeah, man, the Rams are for real too. I need to give them credit because they were down 10-zip, in an emotional game, and they just weathered the storm. Stafford was cool, calm, collected, and went down there and did what he had to do. And the Rams are a complete football team. A lot like I just said about the Bengals. They can win any type of game. So can the Rams.
Took care of business.
Yeah, they did. All right, let's go Eagles and Raiders, right?
Raiders
this one was crazy.
Yeah, Raiders are now 2-0 after,
firing John Gruden.
Yep. Or resigning John Gruden. But
yeah.
They were Derek Carr was 31 for 34 in this one.
Oh my God. I knew he was on that type of, he was 31 of 34 for 323, 2 touchdowns. And it's funny, I thought about starting him, and I didn't for some reason at the last minute.
Yeah, definitely a good streamer this week. If you did start him. Kenyon Drake led the backfield. I guess Josh Jacobs got hurt in this one.
I started Drake, by the way.
Yeah, he played well, 14 for 69 with a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback complete over 90% of his passes on 34 pass attempts.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, they're
holy shit,
surprisingly 5-2 right now. Obviously, they started 3-0, lost 2, and now won their last 2 after.
Yeah, it looked like things were unraveling in a real bad way.
Yes, and that's another thing. They could have the wheels could have fallen off with the whole John Gruden thing going on. They could just be not in it anymore. The wheels could fall off a cliff, but they've been playing super good under this interim head coach.
Carr, they go as Derek Carr goes. Mm-hmm. He's thrown for over 300 yards in all their wins.
Yeah.
So like the only 2 games they've lost, he threw for 196 and 206.
And Darren Waller was out of this one as well.
Oh my God, he did this without Darren Waller. That's right.
Yes,
Jesus, what a
Farter Moreau was a sneaky sleeper here, 6 for 60 with a touchdown.
I think this is the best season of Derek Carr's career.
Oh, without a doubt.
You remember that one year he had where he would have been the MVP winner. It was back in 2016, I think it was. He would have won the MVP, but he got hurt towards the end. Yeah. And then he had never really been that same guy.
He, broke his leg, right?
Yeah. But see, he started 15 games that year. In that year, he was He almost threw for 4,000 yards, even though he didn't play in the last game. He 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was really good that year.
Yeah.
This year, even though his stats don't look, quote, as good as they were that year, because he already has 5 picks and he only threw 6 that entire season with 28. So that year was a little better statistically, but just to me, what he's been able to do at times this year has been very impressive. He's looked very good.
Yeah. He's looked really good.
And my guy Kenyon Drake, as you mentioned, he actually looked like, remember last time when Jacobs went out, I said that they have a role in mind for Drake, and it looks like they want to keep it that way. Mm-hmm. Well, this time Drake went in and immediately was the bell cow, and that may be just a difference in how this coaching staff or whoever's the head coach there now versus how John Gruden had the vision for him. Because Drake came in there and was the guy in terms of workload. So that was encouraging if you have him.
He was definitely a fantasy stud in this one.
17 for 79 and a touchdown.
Kudos to you if you started him with one of your quarterbacks on bye this week.
Yeah. Running backs. Yeah, I started them in 2 leagues, so I was pretty happy with those results.
Derek Carr, sorry.
Yeah.
But Kenyon Drake as well, absolutely.
And then the Eagles, man, it was a gutty effort. They looked like they were just going to get completely blown out, and then Jaylen Hurts came fighting, scratching, clawing back like he sure does, man. It's not always going to be pretty, and I think that's an understatement. He's completed fewer than 60% of his passes in each of the last 3 games. He's done that 4 times on the season. Look, it like I said, doesn't have to be pretty, but when the guy can run 13 times for 61 yards and do so in critical situations, that's going to help your football team win games. And he can create plays outside of structure when they're not there. And they came back, made it fairly interesting down the stretch. My guy Miles Sanders is now injured, so I don't know what this what a disappointing season it's been, even when he was healthy so far. And when Gainwell scored that touchdown early, I was just like, wait, why is Gainwell getting the goal line carries? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think they got a little bit positive news on the Miles Sanders front with his.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna miss a ton of games, but I'm just still bummed.
Yeah, I mean it's been a rough go for Miles Sanders, especially in the fantasy outlook. But yeah, Raiders did what they had to do to win this game, and now they're 5-2.
We also, by the way, Philly fans, if you want another silver lining positive thing here, your guy Jaylen Rieger caught a touchdown. We had a Jaylen Rieger sighting.
Should have been a Devontae Smith touchdown, but hey, you can't win them all, right? I mean, he's obviously supplanted himself as the number 1 receiver in this offense as well.
Yeah, Devontae's the guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 9 targets, most in this week, obviously most all year. He's a stud. He's only going to get better. I mean, he won the Heisman, so yeah, I love the guy. He
was my wide receiver 1. I'm not ashamed to admit that by any stretch of the imagination of this past draft class. Look, Chase has looked better, and I'd be surprised if Chase isn't the better player in their careers. But Devontae Smith, I just want to reinforce, he's a really good football player. For him to already have 400 yards, if you can't compare him to Chase, because that's not a fair thing, right? Like, you have Devontae Smith in a year where, in a rookie season, most rookie receivers, look it up, don't crack 800 yards. He's going to crack 800 yards, barring health. He's probably going to have 1,000. You know what I mean? So that is in its own right, a historically great rookie season. So, take that for what you will. But yeah, the Raiders now are legitimately good.
Yeah, they are.
I'm ready to say that. I'm ready to say. Now, could they fall apart and not make the playoffs? Yes. Because they're in the AFC West and the Kansas City Chiefs ain't dead. Mm-hmm. If they still have Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Mahomes, they still have those guys. Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back, the offensive line stays healthy, Kansas City's going to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. But right now, if the Raiders keep doing what they're doing, they'll be in the playoffs. And
for sure,
they could definitely win a game, maybe 2 in the playoffs if this defense keeps improving as well.
Yep.
All right, let's talk some Texans Cardinals. This one was ugly. It looked like it was going to be a close game for a brief second early on.
Brief, hot second.
And I think the Texans went up 3-0, if I'm not mistaken. I think they scored the first points of that
the
game.
Texans went up 5-0.
Oh, that's right. 5-0. Yeah.
And then it didn't score again.
I didn't think that was a safety, by the way. I thought Kyler got out of the end zone, but in any event,
right? He made up. He made up for it for sure.
But I also didn't think that was a roughing the passer penalty where he got just sacked. It was like he gets sacked pretty badly, and they call roughing the passer just because it was a hard hit. I didn't like that call.
You know what's wild is J.J. Watt only had one tackle in this one.
It was a big one. That was tackle for loss, I think.
Yeah, it was. But what? It's just crazy to think of that. He's having one tackle for the entire game.
He's not an elite player right now, but he's a good one.
Right.
He's a good one. You know what I will say is, and this is not good for the Texans, but I have to bring it up because I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it last week, and I mentioned it again the other day. And so when you look at the games, Davis Mills, their rookie quarterback, has started. Point totals, 9, 0, 22, 3, 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 games he started have been in single digits.
Not good.
That is very rough. Like, so if I'm the GM in Houston, why am I trading Watson? Like, why? I mean, look, Deshaun, if I don't get everything I want and more, you're not going anywhere. You see what we're working with right now at quarterback? I'm sorry.
Right.
It's tough shit.
But I think he's burned the bridges with, the Texans.
Oh, shit, I don't give a damn.
With all the sexual assaults he's got. But
well, then why is anybody else interested? I don't think they give a shit about that. I think that they should, to be fair, but I also don't think that Deshaun's, 100% guilty right now either. We don't know what to think. So I just kind of have to leave that on the back burner. I'm not going to say that's the reason why the Texans are going to trade him, because from that logic, then that would be the reason why somebody else wouldn't want to trade for him. You know what I mean? And apparently, this guy had the nerve to say no to Philly. He flexed his no trade clause and said he wasn't going to go to Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is bonkers, because it's like, if you really went out of there that bad, what's wrong with Philly, by the way? Like, that's if just going to a new coach, offensive minded coach. You got 2 first-round receivers back-to-back years. I don't know why he would say he's not going to Philly, but so I guess the only place right now where he says he's willing to go is Miami. I think he'd be willing to go to Carolina, but hey, who knows?
We'll see. I mean, he could also be put on the exemption list as soon as he's traded. So who knows if we will see him play this year? But on the Texan front, they're bad. 1-6.
Yeah,
it's not looking pretty for them. David Johnson's
they're
completely fallen off a cliff.
Yeah,
they just have no weapons. That's their problem. They literally have no weapons. They have Brandon Cooks, and that's it.
Not much of an offensive line. It's rough.
It's a mess. But yeah, the Cardinals are 7-0. Pretty wild.
Yep.
My boy Zach Ertz, 3 for 66, had a 47-yard touchdown.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he's a tight end 1 for the rest of the season in fantasy purposes. AJ Green,
I think he's a top 10 tight end.
Oh,
I don't think much more.
Right.
I think he'll have weeks like this, but he'll have weeks also where he's like Chase Edmonds, 1 for 9. I think he'll have.
We'll see.
What about your boy Rondo Moore?
Yeah, he looked absolutely incredible in this one. 2 for 17.
Yeah.
He's
just
an animal.
Yeah. But
well, I mean, now that Zach Ertz is in town, it's like one.
I know, right? He was already having a hard time getting involved or whatever, or staying involved. But I think the main obstacle for him is that Christian Kirk's been playing really well, and AJ Green's been playing really well.
Yeah, yes.
So if those 2 guys are playing that well, it's hard to justify putting a rookie in there over those guys. So, and they've been playing well, like we said. So yeah, man. Arizona cruising, and this was a game that for a second I thought, is this a trap game? Is this the game that they're gonna blow to Houston? Because we saw Houston almost beat New England. And then they just shut that shit down. Like, they were losing 2-0 after the first quarter. Again, they, like you said, they went out to be down 5-0. And then from there, it was a 31-0 skunk. So good team win for the Arizona Cardinals. And I like that. I don't know if you saw that tweet where they had a picture of J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins walking off the field together, smiling. And Watt tweeted out and put 7-0. It was just too fitting for those 2 guys, former Houston Texan players, to be 7-0. They've never been 7-0 before. So, good for them.
They're on a great run.
Yeah. All right, let's get
Bears,
into
Bucks.
This was an absolute shellacking.
Tom Brady, 600 touchdowns, the most ever in NFL football history, unlike nothing we've ever seen before, unlike nothing we will ever see again.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
He just looks incredible. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like we're living a simulation almost with Tom Brady.
It's like a fairy tale. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, he's absolutely incredible. 20 for 36, only had 211 yards in this one, but 4 touchdowns.
A situational football. That's what
0 sacks. I mean, this guy is incredible. Did you see Mike Evans throwing that ball into the stands?
And they had to go negotiate with the guy and get the ball back.
It's like Mike Evans didn't even know that was like a significant moment.
Yeah, he did.
And he was like, you saw him on the sideline. He's like, I gave away the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they made a sweet deal with the guy. Obviously, if I were him, I wouldn't have given it back.
I like how Romo and them were saying the same thing. Yeah, they were like, nah, you
got to hang on. I mean,
not enough compensation.
Right. And today they ended up giving him two signed jerseys and 1 signed helmet from Tom Brady, a signed Mike Evans jersey, $1,000 into their shop. And
into their shop, those scoundrels.
And then 2 season tickets for the rest of this season and next. So
okay, that's a little bit better.
But still, they were appraising that ball at over $500,000. So
Brady will never sell it.
Right, but he would have.
Oh yeah.
If he would have hold on to it, he said no, absolutely not. This is a business decision.
But how would he have ever proven that was that ball? In fact, you know what I mean?
Well, because it was witnessed by everybody.
But like when it's on eBay, that's not him.
He's not going to sell it through eBay. He's going to sell it through an auction house who's going to authenticate it by the way who he was, the number on the ball. Those balls are identifiable because yeah, I mean,
well, all right, you had an answer. There we go. I mean, shit. Well, good for him being a good guy, giving that back. I would have told Tom, you cut me a $250,000 check right now.
You can have it. Yeah,
it was. Come on, man.
Hey, it's a business decision. I mean, you're in it to win it, right?
At least cut me a $150,000 check. I'll give you the ball, no problem. You're not worried about the season tickets and nothing like that.
I mean, this is our recap of the Bucks Bears game because there's not much more to talk about here.
Yeah, they were just completely shellacked. I mean,
but hey, my boy Khloe Herbert, 18 for 100.
That was surprising.
Yes, I mean he is obviously their top dog until David Montgomery gets back.
Yeah,
but
he's a 7th round pick. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, Damien Williams was a non-factor in this one. He only had 3 carries. They have full confidence in Khloe Herbert. I actually dropped him because I needed the spot. Obviously, it was a tough start for anybody. If you started Khloe Herbert against the Bucks and
you've got a pair of balls,
yeah, just the fact that he had 18 for 100 against the stout run D of the Bucks.
No one does
incredible.
That. No one does that to his defense.
And
it was in an absolute blowout. Imagine if it was a competitive game. He might have had 28 for 200.
Yeah, and I wasn't the only one that probably dropped him this week. Going into this game that you weren't going to start him if you needed a roster spot. So, obviously, an early waiver wire pickup for this next week if you need some RB help.
He also caught 5 passes for 33 yards.
What about? Yeah, he did. He had a great game. What about Mike Evans?
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, look,
I think this is his 3 games this season that he's had 3 touchdowns in one game.
That's insane. Like what they're gonna do is, again, it's all situational, right? So there's games where Mike Evans will have 1 catch for 6 yards, but then there's other games where, hey, they're going to try and cover you one-on-one. Mike, you're 6'5", 240. You're going to box out this dude, and you're just going to abuse this guy because you're just too big for him, and I'm going to throw it to you every single time. And that's what Brady did.
I think he's had 1 clunker as far as fantasy.
And that was last week against Philly. Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a stud. Obviously, 10 for 76 in this one, 3 touchdowns. He's
6 for 76, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 targets. But, yeah, he looked really good in this one. I mean, obviously, the whole team looked good in this one. They're unstoppable at this point.
Yeah.
You know what would be a great game?
The Lions and Bucks?
No. The Bucks and the Titans.
Bucks Titans?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think the Bucks would easily win.
You think so?
Not easily, but I think they would.
The Titans are playing their best
They're playing out of their
football.
mind. I mean, they just beat the Chiefs and the Bills back to back. So
Yeah,
Bills,
incredible.
Chiefs.
And they not only beat the Chiefs, they walloped them.
Yeah,
but
completely dominated them. Sort of like the Bucs completely dominated the Chicago Bears. And by the way, the Bears beat Tampa Bay last year. Around this time last year, they beat Tampa Bay.
Right.
You know, and we saw how obviously they're a little bit of a different team, but the Bucs are a much different team than what lost in Chicago.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky's over here saying like, "Oh, and you thought it was just me."
Yeah. I saw that.
Matt Nagy, he's bad.
Yeah, Fields struggled. You know, it's getting weird because like I'm worried that if he keeps taking beat downs like this, how is his confidence going to be?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's my only real concern. Not my only concern, but that's a real concern in my opinion because, you know, you have to have a special. And he lost 2 fumbles. I mean, look, he turned the ball over 3 times, or he turned the ball over 5 times.
Yeah, he had 3 picks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was absolutely embarrassing in this one. Looking back, he's gonna be like, man.
And a lot of times he had no chance, right? Like it was just, you know, it was rough. I mean, one of the plays, the Bears coaching staff told him to snap the ball because the Bucs had 12 men on the field, so he thought it was a free play. He throws a pick. There were not 12 men on the field. The Bears coaching staff just was wrong. You know,
yeah,
so
that's bad.
Yeah,
and Nagy, I guess, got COVID today, so he won't be.
Yeah, that might be a positive thing for them on the football field, though.
Yeah,
maybe
positive COVID, positive outlook for the Bears.
Right.
Matt Nagy needs to be gone already. The fact that they're even still hanging on to him, especially if he's spreading COVID everywhere, he needs to be gone. Pay him his buyout and fucking get the hell out of there because
that's funny.
They have no future with him as head coach, unfortunately. They need someone in there that can coach up Justin Fields and get him playing at a high level. I mean, what was his draft position? It was like
11th.
Yeah.
I think 10th or 11th.
I mean, obviously, super hyped kid coming into the NFL. He's got a lot of potential. They just need to get a coach in there that knows what he's doing. So,
yep.
Excuse
me, Colts, Niners.
Yep.
Oh, by the way,
in a freaking downpour.
Yeah, that was crazy. By the way, the Bears are still just 3-4. Like we say, all this bad, but they're only 3-4.
Only, but
you know, and they, I mean,
they won't be any better.
Bit of a roll before that, weren't they? Like they were actually.
They lost to the Packers the week before, and then they beat the Lions and the Raiders.
Oh, yeah. They lost. But look, they lost to the Packers and Bucks. They were 3-2. Lost to the Green Bay Packers and the Bucks. I'm not gonna. I don't think they're dead. I think that they, believe it or not, this might be the worst case scenario for Bears fans because it might mean Nagy gets to keep his job another year. But I think there's a chance they could squeak into that 7th seed when it's all said and done. And that's, you know,
I don't believe it. I have to.
Their defense is really good. Like you saw Brady, other than the 4 touchdown passes, it wasn't like he just had a field day.
I'll believe it.
It wasn't easy.
When I see it.
By the way, Ronald Jones carried 10 for, I think, 63. Fournette was still the guy, but Rojo.
Well, that was after they benched all the starters.
No, I think he had some of them in the first half. But either way, so that's still encouraging because positive reps on film. We'll see where that goes. I wouldn't necessarily, blow my wad to pick him up, but hey, do what you do. Okay.
But yeah. Sunday night, Colts, 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo was back in this one. Back being bad in this one.
Yeah, he was, he was Jimmy.
He wasn't good.
They go right
16
down the
for
field.
27. Yeah.
Score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, inconsistencies. Did you hear what Darius Leonard said, by the way? I thought it was interesting about Darius Leonard said that first drive, that Shanahan, with all the misdirection, and that he was really making things difficult on him. And then he said, I sure was happy that he said something to the effect of, I sure was happy he went away from it.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting because that brings me to my next point. I don't think this is a very good year for Kyle Shanahan.
No. I mean,
I just don't.
I mean, all the talks of him being an offensive guru, it just doesn't look like it's there at all.
I mean, look, dude, what is the deal with Brandon Ayuk?
Well, apparently he's not a professional, so I don't know what that means. But
did he come out and say that?
Yeah, he said he needs to act more like a professional. So he's probably just immature and not studying, and I'm pretty sure that has.
He had a great rookie year. So was he a professional as a rookie, and now he's not a professional? Like I don't.
I mean, understand. He probably picked it up hot, but at the end of the day, he's not studying.
He has 9 catches in 6 games.
It's awful. He was outright bad in this one.
He was a 5th round
catch for 6 yards.
He was a 5th round pick in fantasy this year.
Yeah, I drafted him, and he's damn well droppable at this point.
He's droppable.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's like but here's the weird thing. He still played 71% of the snaps.
Yeah, well, he's clearly not beating defenders or he's not getting open. It
doesn't make sense. Like, are they just
why
are they playing him so much that they don't want to throw him the ball at all?
I mean,
if Shanahan wanted to, he could scheme him open. I mean, he's doing that with Debo, even though teams know he wants to do that with Debo.
Right. Debo's an absolute stud. I don't know why everyone was so high on Ayuk this year. I fell for the trap. Debo's, still a stud. 7 for 100 in this one touchdown, 11 targets. I mean, the guy's an animal.
By the way, Debo, in our league, is a top 25 player, and he's already had a bye week.
Yes.
So if you go by just points per game, the dude is
he's
definitely
a stud.
I think he's the wide receiver 1
in our league.
I'm gonna check in. Damn it! I'm gonna see if they'll show it to me. But the problem is he's already had his bye week. So what is he? He's the wide receiver 6, right? In PPR scoring,
he's 5 in our league.
Yeah, but if you do points per game, I think I think he's the wide receiver 1.
This kind of gives you a perspective of how good Cooper Kupp's been this year. He has 162 fantasy points. He's obviously wide receiver 1 in our league. Number 2 is Jamar Chase, and he's got 128 points.
Yeah, it's wild. You're right. Debo wouldn't be the one. He would be. Let's see. I'm figuring it out right now because I really want to know. And let's just go in PPR scoring, points per game. It is Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill at 2. Wow, I did not think that was
in our league.
Just in PPR scoring.
Yeah, he's 3. He's 3 in our league.
Yeah, Debo 3 and in points per game. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Devontae. Where's Jamar Chase?
He's
Chase
number 2 in ours.
Not in points per game. He's way down here for some reason. 1, 2, 3, 4.
He's second in our league. He's wide receiver 2 with 128 fantasy points.
Oh, maybe they didn't put. Oh yeah. Okay, so what's it called? Fantasy Pros has not updated their this week 7 games.
Okay. Well, yeah. Jamar Chase is wide receiver 2. He's an absolute stud. Obviously not a Cooper Kupp stud, but Cooper Kupp has him. Has a 30, almost 40-point lead on him in points. He's got 81 targets,
but
56 receptions for 809 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's just been an absolute freak. So if you drafted Cooper Kupp this year, you were probably in first place.
Yeah, I wouldn't see how you couldn't be.
Right.
Damn, because getting that guy in the 5th round is phenomenal.
He's carrying your whole damn team.
Right. Here's the thing I need to take an L on, I guess. Eli Mitchell is clearly the lead back there.
Yeah, he had a great game.
What the hell? My guy Trey Sermon again didn't do anything.
Yeah, started him in one league. It was absolutely embarrassing.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I don't know how you started this week after what you did last week.
There's apocalypse. There's literally nobody. Everyone's hanging on everybody. If you got 6 freaking bench spots, everyone's just like, oh, I'm going to haul Nathan because I don't know why, but
I'm starting to think about Kyle Shanahan. Dante Pettis went and had another very good game with the Giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a 2nd-round pick for the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
Now we see Ayuk. We see Sermon. Both guys drafted high. He traded up for Sermon in the 3rd round. Took Eli Mitchell later. It's like, I think that he gets, and this is just a complete guess or a theory, I think he gets emotionally, I think he gets mad at these kids. And then he just puts them in the doghouse and just doesn't
destroys,
blackballs them.
Yeah.
I almost think that that's a possibility. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Yeah, you could be right.
Trey Sermon is a better player than Elijah Mitchell. I mean,
like you said, Elijah looked good in this one. So, I mean, Trey
Yeah,
Sermon's just not getting the
18.07.
opportunities, though. So, like,
Yeah,
we
he's
don't
not.
really know.
And the last time he did get real opportunities, he had 18 for like 95 or something. He had a good game. So, anyways, Eli Mitchell looks good. 6 yards a carry with a touchdown to boot. You should feel good if you spent your waiver on him, despite what I've said previously.
On the other side of the ball, another strong game for Jonathan Taylor. Guy's a stud.
Yeah, man. That guy is, in my opinion, a top 3, maybe a top 5 best pure runner in the game. You know what I mean? Just in terms of.
He's number 2 fantasy player or fantasy running back in our league.
Wow.
Yeah, well, here's another mind-blowing stat. Derrick Henry is running back 1, obviously. He's got 177 fantasy points already. Jonathan Taylor is number 2 with 123. 50 burger on top of the second place guy. Derrick Henry is just an absolute monster.
Look, man, in our league, I believe I got Jonathan Taylor at like either 6 or 8 overall. I think it was 8, and I'm very happy for that. I think that
you have to be.
I think that a lot of people were panicking after his first 2 games because the early weeks magnify and all that stuff. Because the first 2 games in our league, which is basically just PPR scoring, he had 17.6 in week 1. Then weeks 2 and 3, he had 6.3 and 8.2. And then ever since then, 20, 31, 31, 19. You know, he's been awesome.
So I was looking at a different league. Jonathan Taylor was number 2. He's actually number 3 in our league. Guess who's number 2?
Alvin Kamara.
DeAndre Swift.
Wow, my other running back.
Yeah. So you hold the number 2 and 3 RBs in our league, obviously.
Along with Antonio Gibson. Along with, if he ever comes back to life, Miles Sanders. You know, along with Michael Carter.
Mm-hmm. And along with a 6-1 record in second place.
Yeah.
Are you just killing it this year?
I just feel like
I just lost another game. I'm 3-4 in 7th place. Bullshit. Bipocalypse absolutely murdered me.
That's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm 6-1 and firmly in second place.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel good about that. I'm also 5-2 in a couple leagues with these guys. Or at least in one, I don't know.
What about Michael Pittman? He looked
awesome.
Yeah, he did.
Again, he's a really fucking good player, man. He might be a superstar.
He is. And just a downpour,
still had 4 for $105 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Only 4 targets. And he drew that long pass interference penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably would have had 5 for
Mo Ellie Cox got in the end zone in this one. 3 for 25
again.
for a touchdown.
That's all that guy does is catch 3, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But he scores. You know?
If you're holding on the 9 behinds in fantasy, you were safe to drop the guy.
Yeah, he's not been. He had a huge drop, speaking of, on what would have been a very long catch, or at least a 20-yarder or so, and in a third down situation, so that was rough. But the Colts, man, they were 1-4. They were actually 1-3. They were beating Baltimore soundly in Baltimore. They lost that game to go to 1-4. They've bounced back and won 2 straight now. This one I put as a pretty big win because the Niners were coming off a bye and they were at home. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So for them to end, Carson Wentz was making all kinds of mistakes, and it
was a.
Why does it say Carson Wentz didn't throw an interception? He had. I saw it. This is NFL.com. I don't know. But in any case, they did what they had to do to win.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 150 yards in this one. Yeah. He did not have a pick, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Dude, he had 150 and Michael Pittman had 105.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That means he was their passing offense.
Absolutely incredible.
Pretty wild. But yeah, man, the Colts are rounding into form as that team that is quietly – that would be one of those teams that's a quiet – but dangerous wild card team that you don't want to play in the first round.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they're 3-4, right in the thick of it. And who do they play next week? Let me see real quick.
They play the Titans.
Do they really?
Yeah, at home.
Wow.
Could get scary. It is on Halloween, so.
In Indianapolis.
Huh?
Is it in Indy?
It's at home.
I think they win that game.
Whoa.
I'm calling right now.
Upset of the week next week?
Yep. I think they
calling
win
it
that
now,
game.
folks.
I think they win that game because the Titans beat them in Tennessee in week 3, 25-16, right? Wentz had a rough day at the office. I get it. And Wentz didn't throw an interception. So that shovel pass is not the one he threw right to the linebacker. Is not a pass. That's a fumble, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyways, I think that's an interception. That's a fucking interception. But anyways, on the season, Wentz 11 touchdowns, 1 pick. In his last 4 games, he's got 2 touchdowns, 0 picks in each of the last 4 games. You know, he's averaging 250 yards a game. And that's coming off a 150-yard game last night. And he's also averaging almost 9 yards per pass attempt in that time. So, yeah, man, I think the Colts go in there and host Tennessee, and they beat Tennessee Titans. Tennessee's coming off 2 huge wins. They're all excited. They're all feeling themselves. They're going to get humbled in Indy. I'm calling it now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much wraps up Week 7. There were some good games in this week. Obviously, the shockers being the Bengals over the Ravens and the Titans over the Chiefs. All in all, it was a great week. The Rams.
It was a bunch of blowouts this week. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of another weird week. But yeah. Like I said, all in all, good games. Obviously, there are definitely. I mean, you can start to see what kind of who's going to be in the playoff hunt and who's not at this point. All the teams are starting to kind of round out and show who they will be, for the rest of the season. So yeah,
we will get into the Monday night game. We'll talk about that on the next. Whether it be just a solo pod with me or with me and him on it, we'll talk about that when that happens.
Can possibly recap that one in our waivers episode.
Yeah, but so Seahawks fans, Saints fans, we didn't forget you.
Yeah. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, it's important.
Comment your favorite game of the week and all your fantasy studs and duds, and we'll wrap it up here and catch you in the next one.
Peace guys. Catch you later.